$15,000 to spend a day with me. And I sold one, then I sold another one, and then I sold another one. I was making $40,000 to $80,000 a month, but my expenses were way more. Content really influences currency. A couple of years ago, someone starting a rumor about me. If you don't tell your story, someone else will tell it for you, and you don't have control over what they say.
This is the Content Capitalists Podcast. We talk to business owners who've used video to grow their businesses to $1 million a year or more. How they did it, what worked, what didn't. Welcome to the Content Capitalists with your host, Ken Okazaki.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Content Capitalists Podcast, where I talk one-on-one with people who are using video content or any kind of content in their business, especially when they're doing something really current and that's working. So today I've got with me a guest, and I just touched base with her a second ago, and I felt like we've been in the same quote-unquote room for quite a few years because we do similar things. We help people create fantastic videos for their businesses. And I'm really fortunate to have her on the show because something just happened recently where she definitely, rocked the boat, made a few waves, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about what went into that. But before I go further and tease you along, her name is Marley Jaxx, and I want to welcome you to the show. Marley, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, excited to be here. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Marley, could you start us off by giving us a 30,000 foot view of what you do, who you help, and what you help them accomplish?
Sure. So I have a YouTube business, love to help people create content that makes an impact, makes a difference, makes them profit. And so I help entrepreneurs and creators who have that message and want to be able to monetize it specifically through YouTube. Perfect.
And you said entrepreneurs. Could you get more specific? Because my listeners are so keyed in, and a lot of my guests get, hit up afterwards. What kind of entrepreneurs do you specialize in?
I love working with people that have, businesses online, whether that's info products or consultants. But then again, with the content that we'll probably talk about in a moment, it really is like if your audience is online, which I have a feeling they are, you can really speak to anyone. I started working with dentists. I used to be a dental hygienist. So my first client was the dental office that I worked at. So, even brick and mortar can do this. Although if you are selling something online, it might be easier to monetize out the gate, but content really influences currency. And so whatever business you have, if you're online and you can build that online influence, I think that you can build anything.
Amazing. If you can build it online, then you can build anything. That's, I'm gonna chew on that a bit because that really stood out to me the way you said that. So what I like to do, and I think that if anybody's listening by now, if they're on their computer, they've probably already Googled your name if they don't know who you are, which you have to be kind of living under a rock to not know who Marley Jaxx is. But and there's some stuff, but while they're looking at where you are now, which you do have of quite a decent brand that you've built up for yourself. You're associated with pillars in the industry, leaders in the industry. But let's go back to how you started, because a lot of people have this, they put the brands up on a pedestal and they feel like I can't do that, or how can I ever get there when I'm down here? So can we get to before you ever started publishing video about yourself? What were you doing?
I was a dental hygienist. I was cleaning teeth all day, every day, which was terrible.
By the way, your teeth are beautiful.
Thank you. It was terribly boring to me. I am not... I'm a very creative person. So to be so repetitive and cleaning teeth all day became...
Did you ever get creative on the job and do something?
So here's the funny story.
But I want to hear a story, about like what's a horror story or something that happened that stood out to you.
So I feel like being a dental hygienist is what that allowed me to become a good storyteller, because when your hands are in someone else's mouth all day, it's a one-way conversation, right? Like they're hardly able to respond. So to entertain myself and to, keep up the conversation, I had to be the storyteller. So all day I would tell the same story, but I would split test my story. that like if I got a laugh here this time, I would maybe change it to get another laugh with the next patient, that by the end of the day, I had this like just well-wrapped story and that I could go home to my family with. So I feel like I became a good storyteller through cleaning teeth.
That's so good. That's what Kevin Hart said, he'd go to, when he's preparing for a stand-up comedy show, he goes to very, very small clubs and he shares these jokes with groups of like, 10 to 30 people. And then if it doesn't land, then he keeps changing it up. But then in his stand-up, when he's on Netflix, for example, that's just all the hits back to back.
That's how they test their material.
That's how they test it. So yep. I guess if you want to get paid, because stand-up comedians are notoriously broke when they're figuring their shit out, right?
Yeah.
So they should go get a job as a dental hygienist, and then they get paid to have an audience like you did.
It might be a distraction. I'd probably just like burn the boats and go all in comedy.
All right. So that's really cool. It reminds me of what Steve Jobs said about connecting the dots, right? You remember that quote?
Only connect backwards.
Yeah. Like how would you have known that would be the foundations for your storytelling skills?
Crazy. Yeah.
So dental hygienist, was there something between that and what you're doing now?
Well, actually, before dental hygiene, I was working in radio and television. I worked in event management. And so it's really cool that a lot of the people that we look up to today, that the people like that are on our bookshelves, were people that I was hosting events with, or when I worked in radio, I was with, working next to a lot of celebrities that now I'm kind of making videos about sometimes. And so that is what introduced me to the world of social media and also personal development. A lot of the speakers that I would host events with, like some of the people like Gary Vaynerchuk, before he was the Gary V that we see today, like this was back when it was like, maybe a little closer to Wine Library days. But that's what introduced me to this. And then when I was in dental hygiene, I was doing social media for the dental office. The IT guy was like, hey, would you be interested in doing social media for some of my other clients? Next thing I know, he's referred me to all of his clients and I have a business. And I didn't know that you could even get paid to do social media. Like I thought that I was just kind of playing on the internet between patients. And then his clients were like, how much do you want to charge for this? And funny, I overpriced myself. I had no idea. As a dental hygienist, I was making $45 an hour, which was like a comfortable wage. And when it was a plumbing company, it was one of the first clients, asked me, how much do you charge for social media? And I just did the math and I was like, I don't know, like $2,000 a month. And he said, yes. And I went into a Facebook group with other social media managers to be like, hey, what do you guys charge? And a lot of them were like 300, 500. Like they were so timid about the prices they charged. And I was like, oh my gosh, I charge 2,000. And I was like, well, if I'm going to have someone pay this much money, I'm going to like go all in and get them, do as much as I can. So I learned Facebook ads, I learned funnels, I learned YouTube, I learned like SEO, so many different things. And the thing that got the best results was the video marketing that I was doing. And then that's, what tiptoed me into just solely focusing on video.
Okay, that's really interesting. Like I came in from a completely different angle where I was actually hosting large events in Japan. Like they were my events. We had anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 people every single month. And I'm just going to tell a tiny bit of my backstory because it's interesting how we all come from different directions. And I would fill these, I put, bums in seats because that's, my business. And the most effective way I found to fill the seats was with video ads. So I went all in with my creative team. Now, 2 years into this business, I didn't love it, got rid of it. It was just not making me happy, making a lot of money, not making me happy. But what I did love was the creative aspect. So I went deep into learning videography because I was already seeing the financial benefit of making really good creatives. And that's how I went to my agency. You came in from social media marketing and found that the best way to the best converting stuff was video, right? And so it's so cool hearing your backstory. Interesting question, because I get this all the time. People ask, what's the best camera? What's the first pro camera that you got where you shot something and got paid by a client? That's it right there? Still
this
is that the A5100?
Yeah. This is the Sony 5000.
Oh, it's the 5000. It's right after the 5100. 5100 and then
I think I had a 5100 or 5300 right after this. Like this one doesn't even have an audio jack.
Does it have a flip up screen on it? It does flip up.
So I like that.
Yeah, I have that exact model, and I used to use it as a webcam. And you still use it?
Yeah. I just use it for like vlogging myself.
That's so cool. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. The camera that I'm using as my webcam was the first camera I bought when we started the agency. And it's the Sony A7S, not the original. And now it's just a webcam because it's pretty much all it's good for. Because oh, that's cool. Okay, so you got your first client at $2,000, plumber. You figured out how to make it work. How did you go from there to, let's say, like when you started actually scaling and getting multiple clients and had that happening regularly?
Yeah, I started having just a bunch of local clients, and then I would go into their offices to film content for them. And then I got my first client that was not local, and I would just try to get her to film herself and send me the footage. And that was like pulling teeth because there's so much friction with filming content. And so eventually I was like, well, what if I just fly to you and we just batch a whole bunch of content? Like we'll batch, several months of content in like a few days. And it was great. It worked great. And then it also gave me this retention for the clients because like if we batch this much content, well then we got to pay, keep paying me monthly my retainer until it's done. And then maybe we come out and film again. So then I started providing that as a service. Like, hey, I will come out to you and we'll batch 6 months of content in 3 days. And it's like a 6-month retainer. And here's what we do. And that was great. But then the problem was that I was never home. Like I was constantly on the road. I was going from one city to the next, to the next, to the next. There was 1 year where like 200 days of the year I was gone. And then the pandemic happened and I couldn't do that anymore. And I was forced to figure out how to scale without being the one to fly to my clients. And so from there, we built a studio that clients would fly to and we would film them in our studio. And then that was easier.
So you built the studio as a result of the pandemic, shutting down your other form of business.
Yeah. I actually partnered with a studio that was already existing first, that they fulfilled on the filming, and then I would do the rest. And then now we have a studio in Boise.
Got it. Are you originally from Boise, by the way?
No, I'm originally from Canada.
Okay, you're Canadian.
Yeah.
And are you in Boise? Because that's kind of like the ClickFunnels headquarters. And you want to be near all your buddies and stuff?
Yeah, I kind of came here. It wasn't planned to like try to come here because of ClickFunnels. Just my best friend lived here. And in 2020, I was going through a divorce and she was just like, hey, come stay with me. And then I fell in love with it here. And then, of course, fell in love with Stephen Larson. And now I'm definitely settled here.
Amazing. It is uncanny how parallel our paths are, because I was doing something called 52 and 2, where we shoot 52 videos, a video a week in 2 days.
Wow.
And we would rent luxury locations, Airbnbs, Vrbo and stuff like that. We'd have like a 16-person crew, and we do, catering, makeup artist. We basically, what the clients wanted was to have a Hollywood experience, and we'd set up eight
luxurious.
sets. Yeah, we did everything, right? There's 8 sets and 8 outfits, and then we'd shoot, I think 11 or 12 videos per section. So we do. And I had it all organized to the point where we'd have one location and about 4 clients back to back, right? So that's 8 days straight. And then we'd get another location across the road and do the same thing. So pretty much I go in there, shake their hands, make sure that, they know I'm there, and then have someone else take over, and then go to the next client and the next client. And then we just be rotating them around. And it's crazy, as you can imagine. But then I do a month on and a month off. So I'd fly out and do everything. I did LA, New York, Florida, London, Dublin, Sydney, just all different parts of the world, and just have my whole year planned out. And when COVID happened, it completely, like I had most of 2020 booked out, paid for the locations, bought flights, everything, paid for my crew. And it was brutal. It was very brutal. And then I shifted to what we do now, where we do it all remotely. So parallel paths. It's amazing. I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because this is you're the first person who probably understands like what went on in my business and how we got here better than anybody else in the world that I've met so far. So tell us what you're doing now, and also let's start segueing into this project, this experiment documentary that just dropped recently?
Yeah. So last week we released a documentary that I've been working on for 4 months, and it was 4 grueling, agonizing months just putting this together. I loved it. It was such.
By the way, guys, I'm going to put a link down below. You're going to want to watch this. I happened to have caught it when just like 30 minutes after you uploaded, and I think you're just at like 900 views already and 30 minutes. And I watched it beginning to end. It was really put together. I felt like you were like touching on like Johnny Harris level on the presentation skills and all the, the media you brought in, the references. Very well done. Just want to, guys, check out the video. Pause right now. Pause the podcast. Watch the video. Pull over. Watch the video, and then come back and finish this. Okay, Marley, super curious to know. You said 4 months, right?
Yeah, and you got to make sure that you watch it completely, because there's this moment at the end where the floor drops out. Like, if you missed the end, you missed it all. But you need to watch all of it to make the end make sense.
Well, I kind of feel like it's like the Blair Witch Project, where half the excitement was the buildup that happened off of the video on social media, right? And then when the Blair Witch Project came out, it was online forums, because social media wasn't really a thing yet. And then the culmination was in the video, right? And that's how it kind of played out. So if you were kind of aware of what was going on before, then I think that that would have been different. But go ahead and watch the video.
Yeah,
it's a must.
Yeah. It's a documentary on cancel culture, and it was something that my team and I decided to take a stand for, because it's something that I've experienced, being canceled, and have seen so many people just be destroyed by it. And it's unfortunate, this like day and age that we live in, that someone can say something and it be pulled out of context, or someone can make a mistake and just completely shamed and shut down for it. And so we decided to create this documentary that really shows so many different sides. And we had some really great interviews with PR experts, cancel culture experts, people who have been canceled. And it was an experiment where I attempted to get myself canceled in 7 days. And I won't give it away, but it was painful. I got what I asked for. So you'll see in the documentary when you watch it.
So how many people knew about this while it was going on?
That's a good question. Because we didn't want to leak that it was for an experiment. So I'd say I have like my inner circle of friends and family that I wanted to let them know about it, so that, my mom, when she sees this stuff going on online about me, that she wouldn't freak out. So I don't know, maybe like 10, 15 people knew.
Okay. And is this something that I don't want to spoil it. You guys got to watch. Assuming they already watched the video. Like, from the very beginning, was this something that you and Dan and Steve kind of concocted together, or tell me about how that came together?
And first of all, Steve wasn't involved in it until the end, like me asking him to be in that one scene that you see him in. I definitely told him what we were doing, knowing that he was going to, of course, when someone's canceled, the people close to them are also affected by it. So in this experiment, I needed to make sure that Steve was okay with whatever repercussions that would have on him. So he was he knew about what was happening. Dan, I was looking at my text. I only asked him to be involved in it on April 7th, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he was a very willing, committed participant, as you can see.
He was.
Yeah.
Wow. And when the first post came out, I thought, oh, she just, was totally an accident. I thought you might have stepped on someone's toe and they sued you or something, literally. Or you opened the car door and you knocked someone over on accident, and, and they got mad, right?
Yeah.
And then when the second post came up, immediately I remembered what you said on the floor in San Diego. You said, I'm doing an experiment trying to get canceled. That's what's going on.
You clued in. Yeah.
Because I've been following Dad. That's so uncharacteristic of him. He says controversial stuff, but not to he doesn't backstab people. It's just not who he is, right? And that's when I was like, okay, I remember. Here's what's going on. Let's see how it plays out. But when I was watching the documentary, you deserve an Oscar for when that one scene where you broke down and started crying.
Mm-hmm.
I for a moment I was like, wait a sec, like you got me there. And then I started questioning everything for a split second, and then it cut scene to the next part. How many times did you have to take that?
If you're talking about the scene in my kitchen where I fall
in your kitchen floor, yeah.
We'd filmed that twice. That was the second take.
I felt it right here when you did that. So you must have been thinking a very sad thought when you played that out.
Yeah, but honestly, the one thing that I've had to like tell people after this is that there were genuine emotions in filming this. Like, I actually felt, and I can't compare it to anyone else's cancellation experiment or experience, but I felt the anxiety of people talking about me. I felt the anxiety of people not liking me, and the snowball effect of like comments after comments and building on each other and adding fuel to the fire. So during the whole thing, I was in a lot of emotional pain. And in some of the scenes, you see that I'm at a mastermind, I'm at a business event, and I'm around my peers. And I could not stop shaking for 2 days. And I was not present at all. Like it was such a terrible, it was a great opportunity for the purpose of the documentary to be with my peers. But it was also like, I was not present for the purpose of this business conference.
I totally get it. So let's talk about cancel culture itself, like the core issue here, because you alluded to some comments someone made on Instagram, and you said that caused you to get canceled. So could you give us a bit of background story on that, and like why would someone do this, and also how it directly impacted your personal life, your business, your mental well-being? Let's go into that, because this is really important for the audience to hear.
Yeah. So it all spurred from my experience of someone starting a rumor about me. This was a couple of years ago. It was after I earned a 2 Comma Club award, which if you're watching the video, you can see it behind me. It's an award that someone gets when they earn $1 million in their business. And it was something that I had, dreamed of this day. And when it finally arrived, it was like, you think that you have this moment of like, I made it, and you're so proud of yourselves. And I did. Like I was definitely happy that happened. But shortly after, I was on Facebook, Instagram, and started seeing these posts about someone that had financed their award, was the words that they were using. And like, it was this drama that people were like commenting, and oh my gosh, they should have it revoked, and let's contact ClickFunnels and like get it taken away from them. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like whatever that is. And then it was a friend of mine that reached out to me saying, hey, you need to hear this from someone that loves you. Those rumors are about you. And I was like, what? What does that mean? What does it even mean to finance an award? What are they trying to say? What does this mean? And I guess what the rumor was that I put my own credit card through my own funnel so that it would look like I was paying for my product to $1 million, but then it would pay me back minus the service charges or whatever. Like I couldn't even fathom that. So whoever like came up with that was just like, it's crazy. But seeing the fire that was spread from that, like there were Facebook groups that were talking about it. People did reach out to ClickFunnels asking if they're going to revoke it. People reached out to some of my friends, my business colleagues, saying, are you going to stop working with Marley? Are you going to, not be in any communication with her because it's going to make you look bad now? And at first I was like, well, how do I handle this? Do I not respond because like I know who I am and I know the truth and I don't need to dignify anyone with a response? But then what I learned, and also you see in the documentary, I interviewed a PR expert who wrote the book on cancel culture. He literally has books that he's written on cancel culture. He says, if you don't tell your story, someone else will tell it for you, and you don't have control over what they say. And so it took me a little bit to, formulate a response that was tactful, but also removed my hurt and emotion over it, because the truth is I knew who started that rumor, and it was really unfortunate that it was just a friendship that fell out and something that was taken out of context. And like the truth was, I think the reason why it started is because I was in debt when I earned my 2 Comma Club award, that I was making I was making whatever 40,000 to 80,000 a month, but my expenses were way more because I was trying, and I tell this story, like I was trying to go from being in a service to doing like coaching, to having a course where instead of working one-on-one, I could work one-to-many. Well, I don't know about you, but I didn't succeed overnight. Like I didn't succeed the first time, the second time, the 17th time. So I was running a webinar and I was putting so much money into Facebook ads for this webinar, thinking one day it's going to pay off. You're just one funnel away. It's just like one of these days it's going to click and boom, oh my gosh, millions of dollars in success. And it didn't work that way. Like the webinar did not convert. The offer was not right. I didn't name it properly. I didn't price it properly. And in the meantime, I'm paying an ad agency and I'm paying for Facebook ads and I've hired a team to help me do this. And I was just in the red. And so I had to fire my team and start from scratch. And that got me onto sales calls and helped me that when I was talking to my clients or to my prospects face to face, I started to hear what their pain points are directly, hearing what they needed. I revamped my offer. And then I ended up I obviously firing my team and not running ads anymore. I got back into profit again. And by the time I earned my 2 Comma Club award, I was profitable again. But the story that I think that they held on to was that I was still in debt. Like I was 6 figures in debt when I earned my 2 Comma Club award. But the award is about revenue, not about profit. So that was, unfortunately what happened. And I shared that story in this Facebook Live that I did. And I positioned it in a way of like, you know what? I didn't succeed the first, second, or 17th time. But the truth is I've also talked about this on podcasts. You can go look at this one. I talked to Alex Sharfin. I talked to this. I have it on my podcast. Like I never lied about that. I never said that I had all this money or anything. And I think it was also a really great message for people to resonate with, that like no one's an overnight success. And if you fail forward, failure is a prerequisite to success. And it's also really unfortunate for the people who are building things to be shut down if they misstep or if they make a mistake. And at this point, like my mistake was my own debt. But then in a way, that's the tuition that I paid to learn these lessons. Like I was the only one that was affected by that. And then the rumors just, got out of control and definitely affected my reputation for a while, affected my revenue for a bit. But then in the end, when I shared my story, I was surrounded by love and support. And without even having to say where the rumors came from, I was able to just, redeem myself by just telling my truth.
That right there. Thank you so much for sharing that to my audience. I think that so many people are afraid that if they share the thing that is not the shiny object, the surface, the front, right, the PR image, that they're going to lose trust with their audience or lose face. But I found it to be the opposite every single time. When you share the thing that you're not usually comfortable sharing, then people feel like they come closer to you. They trust you more. But I think there's also a balance. I think there was this trend maybe 2 years ago where a lot of people were sharing, warning vulnerable posts, and they talk about how shitty everything is. And my advice around that is like, don't share it while you're going through it. Like come out of it so that people can see, hey, that's something you could learn from and somebody I want to follow because they've been through this. When you're going through it, man, you say a lot of weird shit too. So you're not thinking straight a lot of times. But I so appreciate you sharing the backstory. I did know bits and pieces of it. And I think a lot of those rumors did hit my newsfeed at some point. It didn't get to the point where I was like, oh, she must be a horrible person. That's never an issue. But it just got to the point like, oh, that's an interesting way to earn an award. And no, seriously. And then I started thinking like, hey, maybe I could get 3 awards, just
plug in your credit card.
So it'll literally be what, $30,000, right? Because it's a 3% credit card fee generally. Yeah, $30,000 per award. So so that's what went on through my mind. But there's been people who've done a hell of a lot worse. Even if what they said about you was true, it wouldn't have affected. Like, it's just people find ways. But I'm really, really glad that you got your story out there, that you shared it. Business-wise, you said that you had to eventually fire your team. You lost a bit of revenue from clients. Like, how big was that difference? The reason I'm asking, and while I'll let you try to do the numbers in your head, is because I want people to understand that when you start a rumor, this could ruin someone's livelihood, someone's job, someone's motivation to continue going at a stage where, entrepreneurs are very vulnerable. We like to act all tough, like we got it together, because that's called PR. And that's how you raise confidence in your prospects so they want to invest money with you. But inside, man, we're on a tightrope all the time.
Yeah. For me, so the firing my team happened like in the past when I was in debt, like when I was trying to earn this and trying to shift my business from done for you to like one to many. So that's when I had to let go of my team. During the cancellation experience, I don't know if I could put a number amount to it, but like when it was happening, people were canceling their sales calls because they didn't think that I was someone with integrity, thought that I was dishonest, and didn't want to work with me as a result of that. So that was really painful to be like, hey, it's not true. And like, if you'll let me share my story, I'll tell you like what this is, what I think this is really about. Or like, I'm going to make a public statement soon, will you reschedule your call with me? So that was painful. But then what was interesting is after I shared my story, then people were really in support. And a lot of people shared the video that I made, which I think also did reflect well on me. But then you never know the people that heard the first story that don't hear the conclusion, that maybe they still think that about me and I have no control over that. Something that I did shortly after is I made a campaign, and it was based on a video series that it was funny that the videos would start with this ringing phone. And you would see this yellow, it was like a rotary phone, and you'd see the phone ringing, and then it would ring and then it would just go black. And then it would ring and then it would go black. The screen would go black and then it would say April 6th. And then people were like, what is this April 6th? And the next video was like the phone would ring, but then I'd answer it, I'd be like, hello. And then it would go black and be like April 6th. And then the next video, the same thing would come. I'd answer the phone and be like, is it true you're quitting? And I'd be like, Marley can't come to the phone right now. And then what it was all leading to was this, in part of one of the final videos that was leading to like what is finally happening on April 6th was it showed me, because that year I also spoke on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. It showed me on stage, but then it showed we had these voiceovers of like, I heard she faked her award. I heard that she lied. I heard that she whatever. And then it was like the phone in the video, the phone, being slammed down and being like, I quit. Come join me on April 6th. I'll tell you why. And then on April 6th, I did this Facebook Live announcement of like, I quit shiny object syndrome. I quit everything that's not working. But what I am doing is I'm calling my shot and coming back to the phone, symbolism of calling. I'm calling my shot and going after 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Come with me, join the journey, like stop listening to all of the noise and only focus on what is going to make the biggest impact and profit for your business. And it was awesome. We had like this huge, because of the rumors that had only happened like a month before, and then being able to play on them in that campaign, it attracted a lot of attention. And then I feel like we were able to redeem some of the interest from our audience from that. So it was interesting to use this scandal and turn it into a campaign.
Yeah. I don't know who said it, but there was that famous quote, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? If you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Debatable. I wonder if that's true.
Well, it's just a quote, and this was like a PR strategist where, nowadays cancel culture this was probably coined before cancel culture really became a thing. I was looking through the documentary, and what was going on through my mind as I was watching it is, are there more documentaries of this quality and depth coming? Are you thinking that you'll be making more like this?
Yes, the next one is already in the works.
Amazing. I cannot wait.
Everything moving forward is like this quality. I don't know if we will do as big of a public social experiment. At least
you don't want to do it too often, because then people are going to second guess everything you put out there, right?
I know. Yeah.
You got to choose carefully.
The next one, I'll actually give you a sneak peek of the next one is called Fabricating a Scandal.
Fabricating a Scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the behind the scenes of this?
Yes, and definitely playing to other scandals that have launched or ruined careers.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's go into something that my audience is probably waiting for is, do you have any actionable, usable tips that are working right now for your clients that you're seeing people who are not in the know, like messing up on doing wrong, but that your clients get right because they're working with you? Could you share some of those inside secrets at all?
My whole theory is just to create content for the 1%. Like only 1% of YouTube channels get to 100,000 subscribers. And so if you are looking at the numbers, you want that vanity metric of 100,000, which like most of the time I throw rocks at, like, who cares about subscribers? It's really more about like the impact.
Deep inside, we all care.
But we do, like, we want to know that we're reaching that many people, but also it could just be a vanity metric if you don't have a relationship with those people. So how do you create content that's actually going to build a relationship? Is you got to build a movement. So when I speak to like content for the 1%, I'm thinking about how do you create stuff that 99% of people wouldn't do? Like, how many people would be willing to get canceled for something they believe in? 1% of people really would. Like, they would stand by that and say yes. Not everyone is willing to do that. And if you think about what are 99% of content creators doing that is, falling flat or isn't making that impact or revenue that people want, how do we just avoid that? Like, 99% of content creators are maybe doing talking head videos or stuff that really isn't disruptive, isn't interesting, isn't making anyone stand out. And creativity is like subjective, it's individual. If I told someone else to go make a video where they're attempting to cancel themselves in 7 days, like, not sure if everyone could do that or want to do that. So what we just speak to is like making content that makes a difference. And it's less about, like, I used to speak to YouTube SEO and like keywords and how do you title your videos the way that people are searching for them? And like, yes, that is a strategy, but no amount of SEO will outdo a bad video. And you could just focus on making really good videos now. Like I still get people that are like, how do I update or, increase my SEO score? And I'm like, if you look at the cancel culture video, it probably has a 0 SEO score. But because it's bingeable and repeatable and shareable, that's what I'm banking on to make the impact and be spread to the people that need to see it.
Amazing. So there's one, I love it. Do what 1% of people, what only 1% of people are willing to do. I think Devin Supertramp, who I don't know if he's still producing stuff, but when he was really big, he said something similar to that stood out to me. Like, he'd do crazy things like swim from island to island in Hawaii to get a shot that nobody else has seen before. Like, it's with his camera, in a waterproof bag and stuff, and getting thrashed by waves. So absolutely agree with you 100% there. Do you have anything else you could share?
I mean, kind of what I said about like SEO. Don't worry less about SEO, worry less about the algorithm, focus more on the audience, like on individuals, on people. When we're thinking of like, well, how is the algorithm going to respond to this? It's like, how are people going to respond to this? When we were pushing out the cancel culture video, and actually our plan was to release it on Sunday, but I was in a lot of emotional pain that I was like, no, we need to release this earlier. I like sat next to my editor and we went through the edit minute by minute. And it's really important to imagine that you're watching this content from the lens of a viewer, not from the lens of you who has spent 4 months agonizing over this project and how hard it was to get that certain shot and set up this certain lighting. No one cares about what you went through to create the video. They care about this 10 seconds earning their attention for the next 10 seconds. And so even as much as I loved some of the shots that we got, like, there's so much that hit the cutting room floor that I don't know if people will ever see.
And that's okay. That's okay. I want to add to what you said there about not focusing so much on SEO and the algorithms, because I'm seeing this huge shift happen. I'm sure you've seen it, where it's no longer, well, everybody's really infatuated with this whole idea of ChatGPT and AI. But what a lot of people don't realize is that a huge part of the success of TikTok and Vine before them was they did not use SEO and things like that to get people's attention. What they used is they had AI controlling what gets shown to you based on your user, use patterns, right? Like this person at this age is doing this type of behavior, and after watching this kind of video, they're going to feel like this and more likely to watch this next video. And they serve you what AI believes is going to entertain you the most and keep you on just a little bit longer. And obviously we've seen Instagram Reels follow suit. and then YouTube Shorts. And everybody is shifting, realizing that instead of, thumbnails are important, everything's important, SEO is important, but we're shifting away from that to where it's user behavior. And everything is going to have to do with the quality of your video more than anything else. That's going to be, it always has been, but even more than before, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, every single platform, you can't trick the algorithms anymore because AI is smarter than us. Now it's just put your head down, make a really good video. Think the quality of a video is not how many pixels or colors, depth, or fancy 3D graphics. Those things could help, sure, but it's the quality of the experience the viewer has. You could have a crappy camera with a smudged lens and tell a really good joke, and that is going to go viral and get you millions of views. And if you could tie that joke to a feeling or emotion your prospect will have, and then associate your face with that and your product, then that's the winning formula. Way more than, buying a 4K camera. And I mean, they're all 4K these days, but you get what I mean.
When people ask like, what kind of camera should I use? I'm like, the one you have. Yeah. The one you're going to use, whichever one.
I have a stock answer for that.
Oh, what is it?
Because I get asked all the time. And it's like, hey, you're asking the wrong question.
Yes.
The right question is, how can I get so good at storytelling so that I can make money with my phone and use that money to reward myself with a great camera that's going to make me look fancy?
I love that.
It's the phone is all you need, and you got one in your pocket. Get good at storytelling. That's it.
Nailed it.
So, could you tell us about any experiences you had in the current iteration of your business where like you made a mistake and you learned something from it that you could share with us?
Definitely the example I gave with you of like putting so much money into Facebook ads and trying to launch a product and hiring a whole team to make this whole thing. Like, so what was happening is I mentioned to you that I was doing this service where I would fly to clients all the time. And I was like, oh, like I can't be still doing this 5 years from now, being away 200 days a year. So how do I put out a course or a coaching program? And so I hired expensive people, just thinking like, great, I'm investing in myself and it's all going to pay off. And if I pay them this much money, you get what you pay for. And like, it'll probably result in this big outcome. It'll be awesome. I just built it up in my head, but I was, still fairly new to business at the time. I didn't know my numbers. So I just thought, oh, great, we make good money and I'll just put money into this and I know that I'll get money out. That's what happens to like good entrepreneurs. And so I put like the first time I ran this webinar, I think I put like $5,000 of ads into it. I hadn't validated the webinar. I hadn't validated the offer. I spent so much time filming the video, the course as well, not even knowing if it was going to work, if people were going to like it. And yeah, I hired people too that I think were well-meaning, but I was naive and I paid people more than what their output was, more than, and I didn't know about like tracking KPIs. And I put so much money into the toilet. And then I had to, got on a call with one of my friends and mentors, Alex Sharfin, that he was like, we got to stop the bleed. Like you have to fire everyone. Because I still had, I had clients on a retainer, that if I fired everyone, I was immediately profitable. So I had to let go of my team. And it was so painful because I care about people, but had to, not lose my house.
So you started doing the fulfilling yourself?
Yeah. My brother worked with me. So it was me and my brother. And we just we did it ourselves for so long. And so then I was on sales calls all day and then also working in the evening to fulfill on everything. And I didn't know how to take sales calls. I just hired that out thinking I'm not good at sales. I'll just have someone else do it. But I didn't know what even makes a good salesperson. So the person that I hired for sales, I hired them, most salespeople are on commission. I had him on a salary plus commission. He wasn't selling anything. So I was just paying him a salary for I don't know what. And I didn't know better. And then when I got on sales calls myself, I started to learn how to communicate. At first I was just all techno babble on them. Okay, we'll do your SEO this and we'll do these keywords and then this will help with here and click the link in the funnel. And they didn't know what that meant. And luckily I had some friends that spent some time with me to show me here's how to just listen, shut up, just listen to their pain and hear them out and then ask some more questions. And it was some of my friends that were like, okay, here's an offer. They helped me put together like a VIP intensive, like, okay, come fly out to me. We'll spend a day together and we'll do this. And they were like, you should sell it for $15,000. I was like, 15,000 for it to spend a day with me? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like at the time, I just thought that was an outrageous amount of money. And they were like, I promise you, just try it. And I sold one. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I put some of that money into hiring a course, someone to teach me how to do sales. And then I sold another one. And then I sold another one. And then being in person doing these VIP intensive days with clients, that also showed me like, what do I need to turn into a course, into a coaching program? And that's what helped me to like get back on my feet and pay off the debt and hire a team again.
Thank you so much for sharing that. The level of detail you went into and admitting how little you knew at the time. Oh. I feel so connected to you right now because at some stage I went through every single one of the things you said.
Yeah.
And like I've hired so many agencies to do stuff for me. And boy, I think marketing agencies are good at marketing themselves more than anything else. Or they had some great success in the past with famous people, but they have a hard time replicating it for anybody else because they leveraged the fame of that person in the marketing. And then like we forget that, like, for example, I produced stuff for Tony Robbins in the past. If I produce the same stuff for myself, it is not going to have the same impact because I'm not freaking Tony Robbins, And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. Just because someone did good work for, Coca-Cola, Toyota, Tony Robbins, whoever, does not mean it's going to work for you, period. It's every single situation is unique. If you find someone who's done good work for someone really similar to you at the stage you're at, then that's, and you have, the testimonials to prove it. That's something I learned to start looking for is some businesses similar to mine. Could you tell me right now, the way your business is set up, what is let's connect the dots here from when someone first hears your name, Marley Jaxx, to when they become a paying customer. Typically, what do people go through? Like, do they see an ad? Is it organic? Could you take us through those steps?
I think there's so many different front ends that we have. Like, of course, we have our organic content. We have Facebook ads. We have a virtual event that we host.
Okay, let's go with the one that's you think is working the best right now, like the ideal path.
I have a few. Like, we have the virtual
okay.
event that's great. And I also just have a simple like case study funnel. With the case study funnel, I think is always great. And it's great for like, I think any level of business or any entrepreneur to have a case study funnel that shows like, here's the strategy that we implement for our clients. Here's the results we get for clients. If you want this result, click the link and get on a call with us. Because then from there, it's like, this is the strategy. On the call, we can go, which level in our value ladder is the right fit for you? Middle, higher, lower. And it's a great way to like just get right onto a call with clients. So I like case study funnels for almost any business.
Okay, very cool. So case study funnel, is it typically ads or organic?
Both. Like, we have ads that will run to book calls for it. And then we also have, like all my YouTube videos just go straight to that because it's an evergreen, like, hey, here's our 10-minute video of here's what we do to get success for clients. And if that's interesting to you, click the link.
That's it. And they get on a sales call and then it's like, you work with us now or later?
Yeah. And it's like, which level of the value ladder is the right fit for them. So if someone just came through like a challenge, we're typically only selling one thing. If they get on a call, they can see which of the options are the best fit for them.
Amazing. So I have a question that's based on every now and then I get this, let's say 1 out of maybe 10 DMs I get inbound. Most people are asking about, hey, how do you do this with video, or how much does it cost to work with you? But then every now and then I get someone asking, how do you have advice for someone starting out as a videographer / a content creator agency? And those are starting to grow a lot. And the space we're in, by the way, is getting super crowded. And I'm elevating, and also like I'll share with you that on another call if you like. But a lot of people are asking how to get started. What advice do you have for someone like that?
For someone getting started specifically in video marketing?
In content creation as a service.
As a service.
Because that's pretty much the core of what we do, right?
Yeah. when I when I'm looking for someone to work with me on content creation, I'm looking for, first of all, people that like have talents that I don't. How can you bring me energy, inspiration, ideas? The ideating alone is like worth that. It's priceless. Because anyone can hold a camera and anyone can put captions on a video. But I want to work with someone that like I know cares about my brand and knows my brand. I have people in my DMs every single day. Hey, have you considered creating this style of content? Yes. And you and like 50 others in my DMs have suggested it to me today. And so how do you stand out? Like some people stand out a little bit more when they make you a personalized video or they offer to make you a video, but that's still also being done by so many people. So I don't know. Like I think it's like just really getting into someone's business and, you know, creating if someone came to me and was like, hey, I saw your cancel culture video. I actually I think that you should make a video on this topic and here's why. And here's a little script that I made for you. And I would love to make it look like this kind of video. And if they ideated the concept to execution of it for me, I'd be like, that's someone that I want to have on my team because they see the vision with me and they can create their own creative vision and bring it through. I don't just need copywriters. I don't just need videographers. I don't just need editors. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that too. Like people are in the DMs all the time offering their video services, but we need to feel like who can also hold the vision for my brand and independently create it.
Amazing. What you just said reminds me a lot of the story of D-Rock and how he got connected with Gary Vee, right? He, for free went and made his, that video Clouds in the Dirt that went viral. And he just said, hey, Gary, I want to make a video for you for free. And Gary said, sure, follow me around for a day. And he comes up with that video Clouds in the Dirt. And Gary sees it. He just says, you're hired. And now I think right now he's actually starting his own creative business. But for a long time, he was the lead creator on Gary's team.
Yeah.
Right. And he basically became synonymous with the style of video where you have someone following you around and making documentaries about your life pretty much. And that being your content.
Oh, I was going to say, if I had someone like that for me that created content from my content or put in the time, of course I'm looking for high level talent. If you look at the cancel culture video, I'm excited to put that on hiring posts to be I'm looking for people that can continue with this vision with me. But if people slide my DMs and go, hey, do you want me to make you Hormozy style reels? I'm like, I love Hormozy. I love Hormozy, but I'm not trying to be Hormozy. I'm trying to be Marley Jaxx. And I think that that's something that a lot of these Me Too brands, these that are trying to just stand on Hormozy's shoulders, it's great. But I want someone that can come to me and be like, let me make the Marley Jaxx brand. And so for anyone listening that is pitching services like that, speak to what your prospects want, which is to be a leader in their space and help them to have their own brand, not be piggybacking off of someone else's.
100% true. 100% agree with you there. I want to respect your time. We're just coming at the close, but do you have anything else you want to add as far as when it comes to content creation for businesses, established businesses who aren't doing it yet? What are some things they should be thinking about, first steps they can take, things like that?
I used to create content out of obligation. I'm supposed to put out a video every day and this is going to help me to stay consistent for my audience because you hear consistency is king. And it's true. But also inspiration, I think, is more important than consistency. That if you are not inspired, it's hard to be inspiring. So I think it's, yes, committing to the path, learning to love the pursuit of content creation over just the attainment of some goal, like 100,000 subscribers or $100,000 or $1 million or 2 Comma Club award or whatever that is, learning to love the process. So I used to create content. I would look at Answer the Public. I would look at YouTube. I would look at SEMrush and see what are people Googling that I can make content about answering their questions. And I thought that the more quantity I made, that I would get myself out there more and that I would get more leads and I would get more revenue. And what I got was burnout. And I hated creating content. I became resentful to it. And it was just in the last, 6 months where I was re-inspired with like, what if I created a documentary on something that I'm actually passionate about, on something that I would be willing to get canceled over because I care about this much. And it was 4 months of putting this one documentary together. And we have like 3 more at a time that are in the works. So hopefully it won't be 4 months before the next one comes out. I'm hoping it'll be 2 or 3 weeks. But this is something that like I bled for, that I'm excited to create, that pulls me out of bed, that I will be sleep deprived to make. Like this is the kind of stuff that I love. And I can't tell anyone what that is for them, but that I hope that they find it. Because if you love creating that kind of content, or if there's topics that you can speak to, that's what's going to pull you. And that's what's also going to attract people to you. So I hope
that right there. I'm getting chills right now. Like, there's so many dreams that I'm putting on pause while I'm working on business. And I think that anybody listening is also going to have some of those. And maybe if you just lean into your passion, then there'll be a lot of people who also will share that passion with you. Amazing. Now, Marley, if anyone has listened up until this point, then there has got to be something about your voice, your story, your passion for what you do that has captured them to stay with us for a whole hour. So obviously they're going to want to find out how they can get in touch with you or work with you. So what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they're interested in hiring you, perchance for helping them with their content, growing YouTube, getting clients and things like that?
Yeah, feel free to come to our site, vipleadmachine.com. You can also follow me on YouTube, on Instagram. On Instagram, I respond to all of my DMs myself. So just look up Marley Jaxx there.
Awesome. Guys, we'll put all the links down below. Do you say vipleadmachine.com?
That's right.
That's a good one. I love it. Guys, I'm going to have to drop this. I'm going to have to wrap this up in just a sec. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end. And I'm going to go back and listen to this myself once it's edited because this was so interesting. And to tell you the truth, when I'm podcasting, sometimes I'm thinking too much about how to keep the conversation going and not completely sitting in on listening and absorbing. So I like to go back and listen to it again. And that's just something that, if you're a podcaster, might be something interesting for you. Marley, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you 1,000%. And I hope to follow up with you again once you start putting out more of these documentaries. I have a feeling that they're going to just keep building and building one on top of the other. I just do, because the first one was so good. Thanks again.
That's the plan. The next one, Fabricating a Scandal. So please go, anyone listening, go subscribe so you can go check that one out. And the next ones behind it are just as spicy.
Amazing. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And thanks for checking out The Content Capitalist.